Okay, good morning everybody. It's 10 o'clock and if you're in the right place, this is T11. This is the Tesla car owner panel. I hope everybody's in the right seat. I hope everybody doesn't take off. The purpose of this panel is we've got three folks plus myself, Paul Thomas, Chris Alisi, and Jeff Soley, and I'm Mike Klimkowski. We're all Tesla owners, and again, the purpose here is to learn about Tesla and for you guys to ask any questions that you want. I think we've got probably collectively about 10, 15 years of Tesla experience as a group.
And probably about 500,000 miles worth of driving.
There you go. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to have each of these guys introduce themselves, talk about their cars, talk about their experience with the Tesla, and then specifically I'm going to have Paul talk about long distance driving.
No, the difference between the Model X and the Model S.
Okay, thanks for correcting.
But I can do long distance driving too if you want. But there's better people
We're
for that.
flexible here. Okay, so he'll talk about the Model S, Model X, and any differences. Chris, you want to talk about long distance driving?
Sure, because I pushed it quite a bit further than I should have.
Perfect. Jeff, you want to talk about any issues or any missing features or things that you would identify as a shortcoming?
No, I was going to do home charging.
There's a comedian everywhere. All right, so that's really the intent here, but really this is about education and learning, so let's have fun. Let's start out with a brief introduction and talk about your car and a little bit about yourself.
Sure, my name's Paul Thomas. I've been driving plug-in hybrids and regular, actually BEVs for probably 4 years, and I got mad at Ford last fall when they wouldn't sell me a Focus, the newest Focus. So I went to go buy a Bolt. Well, guess what? In Wisconsin, you can't buy a Bolt. So on a joke, I just decided, hey, I'm going to go test drive a Tesla. And all of a sudden now, not only do I own one, a month after having it, my wife decided she was going to buy a Tesla as well. So we went to a two-home family like that.
Thanks, Paul. Chris?
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Alisi. I've been driving a Tesla now since 2013. My first one was number 9,846, so I have been with Tesla through some of the growing pains, a lot of the growing pains. Lots have changed. My experience besides that, I was also Wisconsin's first electric car dealer, and I've been doing conversions for, oh God, I lost count, but over 15 years now. So, yeah.
Jeff. I'm Jeff Soley. I've got a Model S, and I bought my first plug-in electric car in July of 2012. My car was built December of 2014, delivered on Jan of 2015. It's one of the autopilot. It was one of the first autopilot Model S's. And in just 30 months now, I've got 57,000 miles on my car.
Wow.
So it spends a lot of time out.
Awesome. I am Mike Klimkowski, and I own a Model S, and my Model S I bought in June of 2014, so I think as of yesterday it's 3 years old. It is my primary driver. I have 57,150 miles, so if I'm lucky, I may have Jeff beat. But
By a couple.
counting? Who's counting?
Right, who's counting? Who's competing?
The interesting thing is I bought the car, and I wanted to try to distill any myth that was out there about EVs. So after 6 months of getting comfortable with the car, I just took off blindly and went to California, charging on superchargers. Yeah, he knows superchargers. So 2.5 years ago, there was a lot of gaps in the supercharger network. I will tell you, I had no issue going to California. I had no issue going south to the Mexican border. I had zero issue coming back along the southern part of the U.S., going through New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and then coming back up to Wisconsin. I had zero issues. At that point, I became hooked. So I'm a huge, huge fan. I'm also the lead of the Wisconsin Tesla Owners and Enthusiasts Group. We're on Facebook. We have about 177 members right now. And it's growing, and it's really, really cool. We do a lot of cool stuff, whether it's meetups, whether it's, sometimes we do things for social gatherings. It's great, and we hope to keep the momentum alive on that group. So at that point, I'm going to turn it over to, let's start with Jeff. Why don't you go ahead and just talk about your topic du jour.
All right, the one thing that I did want to talk about, and take any questions on if anybody's got one that they want to throw out there right away, is I've done just about every kind of home charging that you can possibly do. I've been at this since 2012. In my home, at the most, at any one time, we had 4 electric cars. I had one, my wife still does. Both of my adult sons have them as well. So I've had to do just about every possible changeover to electrical panels and incoming electrical service in order to accommodate that. Most homes built after about 1950 can handle 1 electric car just fine. Most homes built after about 1975 can handle 2 electric cars just fine. You get above that and you start to have to do stuff. So I have done lots of things. One of the main things that I ended up doing when we peaked out at 4 electric cars in the family is I had a completely separate service run into the house. We're in We Energies territory. I don't know what Alliance rules are, but in We Energies, you can't have 2 separate electrical services running into your home. You can't have 2 meters on the same structure. So I had to build another structure in order to bring in another meter. And of course I did that because I'm 3/4 nuts. So I built another building and I put electrical service in that building and I piped it underground into my garage. And it is its own 100 amp service, which my Tesla draws 50 and all 3 volts draw 30. So each were 20. So I could charge all 4 on that separate service. And the neat thing about doing it that way, even though people look at me like I'm nuts, I'm able to have my house on standard flat rate billing, and I'm able to have my outbuilding on time of use billing. So my house, in my 2 rate tiers in Milwaukee, I'm at 13.8 for flat rate billing, and I'm at 8.8 for time of use nighttime billing. I just never run my car's chargers during the day. I run them all at night. And that saves me about another 35% off of charging off of my home circuits. Yet my wife, who's a teacher and has the house very cold during all the summer, I don't have to pay daytime rates on time of use. I just use flat rate billing. So I've done a lot of electrical work. I have spent all total, including the building, about $5,500 on electrical work to my house, which does not sound like a cheap date, but my entire family doesn't burn gas. And my entire family, sum it all up, and we would spend about $6,500 to $7,000 a year on gas for the 4 of us. So my payback on a $5,500 outbuilding and all of the electrical work that went with it was less than a year. Sounds expensive, but when you play it out on payback time, it's really very, very short. So that's my story. That's what I wanted to throw out there as the opening. And if anybody's got any questions, I don't know how you're doing. Are you doing questions now, or you just want us to do a little?
You know what? No. Let's do them now.
All right.
From the audience.
Everybody,
right
all at once.
This gentleman right here. You go ahead and read it, Matt.
On your array, how big of a array do you have?
I am building a house with an array. Right now, I pay an extra 3 cents. What I gave you was the rates from We Energies. I pay an extra 3.5. Is it 3.5, Josh, for the wind farm?
It's 2.2 for 100%.
I pay an extra 2.2 cents a kilowatt hour on top of my rate to buy energy from We Energies wind farm. My new house, which I haven't dug a hole yet. I've got all of the architectural plans and I have the land, and it's probably going to dig a hole in September. Will have a 42 panel, 17 kilowatt array.
Nice.
3 power walls, 3 power wall 2s, and it's big.
So they'd let you slap that 100 amp service on a garage, and you had a garage.
No, I do have a garage. No, they will not let you slap a second service on one structure. You have to build a completely separate structure in order to have a second incoming service.
You can, you just have to have 2 services 150 feet apart and they have to be separately grounded, and there's a whole bunch of...
It's basically impossible to do.
Yeah.
Unless if you have like a 7,500 square foot house and your garage is on 1 acre and your house is on the other acre, then you can have 2 services. But really, realistically, you can't.
I'm talking about city of Chicago. It's like
I don't know the Chicago one.
It's 180 feet is the lot length. by 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I ain't gonna do it either.
Other questions
Another
on
one?
this side?
All right. Anyone?
What kind of charging device do you have?
We have all Clipper Creeks, LCS 25s and LCS 30s, and then we have the Tesla stock charger that comes with the car. That's 40 amp. The LCS 25s are obviously 25. The 30s are 30s for the Clipper Creek units.
Why are you putting in 100 amp instead of 200 amp service?
For my separate service, the only thing I had planned for that was electric car charging. I have 200 amp service in my house, so everything about my house just runs off of my house service. The only thing that the separate panel did was car charging. And even at 4 cars, I was pulling about 100 amp. When they ran the service line in from the transformer in my backyard, they ran big enough service that I could boost it to 200. But I didn't need 200, and it just was bigger breakers and bigger boxes and bigger lines and bigger pipes and more digging, and it was unnecessary, even on 4 cars. Sir?
This is more a comment first, because we don't live in a house in Madison. I own 2 Teslas, one here, one in Hawaii, and we live in a condo building, and that was a special challenge to put a home charger. What we ended up doing was getting a derivative of the building mains into somebody else that will redistribute it and essentially sell the power to, we can have up to 10 electric cars in our condo garage and add another 10 later. Right now we have 2 electric cars. It was not easy. If somebody needs to know more about how we did it, they can talk to me later. I also have a leaf, and that's connected right to our service from the condo, but we have to run the wires a long way.
As an ad for the Wisconsin Tesla Owners Group, there's we're pushing, Mike is pushing nearly 200 members now, and there is an enormous amount of information like that. For instance, even if you don't have a Tesla, join that group. Ever you have a question about car charging, whether it's Tesla or not, anything about electric vehicles, whether it's Tesla or not, there are people on that forum that know how to answer those questions. That is a very specific encounter, and you're not the only one who has to face it. You're not the only person who's ever sat in a room like this and has a condo. It's a very common thing. Ever you have questions like that, the Wisconsin Tesla Owner Enthusiast Group is an excellent resource. Just post the question and you'll get answers. Yeah. Sir?
As a group, this is to all of you, or as the car enthusiast group, are you trying to support more charging stations in places like municipalities?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Any chance we get?
We do. Yes. The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
We're
gonna, and we'll get into that a lot.
I'll get to that with the long range.
Chris is going to go there. Yeah.
Basically, consider this an advocacy group for Tesla and electric vehicles in general, but it does have a primary focus around Tesla.
Nobody in Tesla is a passive supporter of electric vehicles. In order to make the decision to buy a Tesla, you're already pretty deep into the EV movement. There's a reason you went there.
You think so?
All the way in the back?
Actually, a lot of them are just simply people that have the money and wanted something that goes almost as fast, if not faster, than a Corvette.
Sure. I don't disagree with that.
I'm not one of them. I happen to like the efficiency. When you did your separate service into the house, did you hire a contractor or do it yourself?
I hired a contractor.
And he had no issues with doing that?
Oh, absolutely, he had issues with doing that.
And may I ask what the issues were?
The issues were,
This is my son, by the way. He's an electrician, so he actually knows this stuff.
when you're running separate services in the house, the main issue is grounding. So if you touch a live circuit, how is it going to get back to ground? Is it going to go through you, or is it going to go through the wires that are designed to carry that certain current? So his main issues were, how was the current getting back to the panel underground, and the building was like 2,100
square feet.
No, the building, how far away? It's like 50, 60 foot.
Yeah, we did a 75-foot run.
Yeah,
the biggest issue that the municipality had with it, my issue wasn't as much with the contractor. They pretty much would do whatever the inspector said they could do. It was getting the inspector to say okay to things. And the inspector's hang-ups were separate electrical services, 2 different electrical services in the same room. So I have power from my house in my garage, and I have power from my outbuilding in my garage. And from a firefighter standpoint, that is problematic. So we had to do a lot of labeling and a lot of color coding. we had to make it very obvious which service disconnects were for what within that one space. That was essentially the issue.
Did you put the service disconnect for the second service next to the service disconnect for the original service?
No, they are on different sides of the room.
Okay, just,
No, but
Yeah.
outside.
There is a service
Outside,
disconnect
inside.
outside. There are separate service disconnects for each of the main charging circuits inside.
Yeah.
So basically they're SPA disconnects. They're 30 amp or 50 amp SPA disconnects, and they're lined up in one spot along the wall so that whether you are in the outbuilding or in the garage, you can shut down power to the garage from that circuit and have the entire garage be off. So I've got circuits over here, shutoffs over here for the house circuitry, and I've got shutoffs over on this side of the garage for the outbuilding circuitry. And a lot of color coding and labeling as well.
You know, guys, hold on real quick. We're in the spirit of time. I want to give everybody an opportunity, if you don't mind. We can always circle around either after the event or I just wanted to.
And I'm not going far.
A
I'll
lot
be
of
right
great
here.
information. I wish we really had more than 1 hour.
I would like to make one more comment though.
Quick.
I happen to own a car with 2 chargers. A typical 200 amp service is fed by a 10 kilowatt transformer in all utilities. So at a 10 kilowatt transformer in the charger in the car, running at 80%, you're 80% of the load of that transformer. So if anybody puts in a charger, please inquire at the utilities of the size of the transformer actually feeding the house. I cooked mine. I do that.
Thank you. That's a great
To
comment.
comment on that, I got a 25 kilowatt transformer feeding 11 houses on my street. I also live in We Energy's territory. And my car has the dual charger, so when I charge at full speed, I'm at up as much as 20 kilowatt on a 25 kVA transformer.
Not counting everybody else's load.
Not counting everybody else's loads. When I plug in, voltage starts at 245. When I'm at full power, I'm down to about 215.
Ooh,
I've been trying for 9 years now to get, and this is even before I got the Tesla. I've been trying for 9 years to get them to upgrade that transformer. And
On the flip side of that,
it's still going.
When my on the flip side of that, when my intentions were known on car charging, I had a new transformer in the back of my yard within
they installed
several
25
months.
for me when I was.
Yeah, they upped mine quite a bit.
Okay. Great.
Off me.
Great stuff. I want to switch gears momentarily. Chris, can you please give us your experience about long distance driving with the Tesla and anything related to that?
Okay, long distance driving with the Tesla. When I got, going way back, all right, I started with the conversion cars. I was selling them and building them. Of course, that was a whole different set of challenges because lead acid, 25-mile range about, roughly, give or take a little bit. Well, then upgrade to Tesla. Now I have a 60 kilowatt Tesla, or I did. Now I'm in a 90D. I upgraded last year. When I got my 60, I ordered it. We weren't even sure if Tesla was going to be around to deliver cars, let alone actually build superchargers or anything. So I went with the 60. I figured if I didn't get my car, or if I did get my car and they went belly up, I'd save at least 10 grand. Big mistake. Always go with the biggest battery that you can afford. Saying that, when I also got my car, there were 2 superchargers in the entire world. And I think, I forgot the location. They're both in California at the time. In Wisconsin, we had probably 5 or 6 J1772s in the entire state. So basically, I was kind of landlocked. I had the amount of range that I had to go out and be able to turn around and make it back home. Knowing that, I pushed my luck on many occasions. To date, I've only completely ran out of charge twice. Only one was my fault, and the other one was on a loaner vehicle from Tesla that had a brake issue. I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, at the time, you had to scope out, look for every single outlet, every 120 volt outlet, and you make note of it. Thank gosh the cars actually recorded every outlet you ever plug into, so you could easily find it again. PlugShare is your friend. If you don't have it yet, download the PlugShare app. If people find a charger or an outlet that's not listed anywhere else, it will end up on PlugShare, or you can add it yourself. Now, my big thing is my parents live in Wisconsin Dells, so I always went from Milwaukee to Wisconsin Dells. In the summer, no problem, I'd arrive with plenty of range. Now, wintertime was a whole nother story. You will lose range in winter. The cold, specifically to run the heat on your car, is detrimental. Those heaters use a lot. Why Tesla didn't add a heat pump to the cars, I don't know. Not good for all the time. But they did, shortly after I got my car in 2013, a firmware update, I think firmware 4.5, gave us shore power. So now at that point, we could preheat or pre-cool our cars while plugged in, and the cars would draw that power from the shore, which was great, especially in the winter. I could get the car nice and toasty, so then I could turn that heat all the way down and maintain a nice comfortable temperature without drawing tons of power. I think I forgot the exact number, but I want to say the heater on the Model S is about 6 kilowatt at full blast, which is not chump change. On top of that, there's also a battery pack heater, but what a lot of people don't realize is there's a mode on the car called range mode. You slide that little slider over and it will actually not disable but turn down the battery pack heater until it gets to about -10 degrees. The batteries get to about -10 degrees. Now, unless you really want your regen braking, you're going to lose more power on that battery pack heater than you're ever going to gain on regen braking, especially if you're planning on hopping the freeway. Eventually, the battery pack will warm up with driving and you'll get your regen back, but it's a trade-off. If you're hopping the freeway, definitely have that turned off. Plus, it cuts down the amount of power your air conditioner or heat will use. And I've been running range mode since day one, and you can definitely see the power difference. And even in the coldest of days, I got remarried on December 18th last year, and it was -11 that day. And what was that?
You meant you want to turn it on.
I turned range mode on. Yes, thank you. I said off. Sorry. And even at -11, the car had no problems keeping us nice and toasty. And of course, you got those nice seat heaters. So that's about extending a range a little bit. Now, if you're going to be doing long distance, don't skimp on the charging. So you think you might have enough to make it to the next station, and now this goes doubly for the winter. If we were south, I wouldn't be talking about this, but obviously this is Wisconsin and the Midwest here. An extra 5 minutes at a supercharger might be the difference of getting stranded or making it with more than enough range, or might be the difference between, all right, we're going to have to shut the heat off and make sure we're all bundled up and throw blankets over ourselves so we can make it the extra 3 miles we need. Superchargers are great. We have 7 of 8 or 8 of them now in Wisconsin. 7 with 8 counting. Green Bay would make 8.
Green Bay.
I think it's
Eau Claire, Boston,
Pleasant
and
Prairie.
Wausau. That's
Yep, Wausa's got a temporary 2-station, but a permanent on the way.
And they're adding an additional 5 stations.
Falls 5 stalls?
5
There's one
stalls.
here,
No,
too.
5 locations. in
But we're talking about
Wisconsin.
superchargers, not
There's a
DC.
supercharger here.
No, it's
That's
actually
a Tademo station, considerably slower. Still usable if you have the right adapter. I'm talking about just superchargers, because for Teslas, that's going to be pretty much your only and main mode of long distance travel.
What's a supercharger?
Good question. A supercharger is Tesla's version of DC fast charging. Now, we got the Tademo station here, which is the Japanese, originally pioneered by the Japanese, a favorite of Nissan's. I think they're designed for up to like 150 kilowatt charge rate. However, you're going to be hard pressed to find one over 44 or 50 kilowatt. There is an adapter for Teslas, but it's going to be considerably slower. At this time, Tesla supercharging stations can go up to 135 kilowatt, and it's going to go up faster charge rates in the future as Tesla perfects things for their cars. Now, the nice thing about them is you can get a 0 to 80% charge in about 20 to 40 minutes, and 80 to 100% in another 20 to 40 minutes. Of course, you don't need a full charge. And these are designed to charge Teslas at the fastest speeds possible. And if you have a grandfathered car, you have unlimited supercharging for life of your vehicle for free. Or if you get a new car without the referral program, they'll give you 400 kilowatt hours of power for free every year.
I thought they just canceled that.
What was that?
They just canceled that.
They canceled the unlimited supercharging for life for free, but they brought it back with the referral program. So if you have a Tesla owner that refers you and you use their referral code to order your car, they will still give you the $1,000 discount on the Tesla plus unlimited supercharging. But in this case now, it no longer stays with the life of the vehicle, it stays with the length of the ownership. So if you were to buy one using a referral code, you would get the unlimited supercharging, which is great if you drive a lot, But if you were to sell that car, it would then downgrade to the 400 kilowatt hours per year for free.
I want to throw something in here just for clarity too on that question. Tesla superchargers are built by, owned by, paid for by Tesla. They only charge Teslas. There's about 2,200 locations in North America where these are located. They're sometimes in grocery store parking lots, sometimes in hotel parking lots, sometimes at convenience centers. They have the big Tesla logo on them. They're big white and red, futuristic looking things. They have a plug. You plug your car into that charger, and you're charging at a super fast rate. That's what the supercharger is.
And on top of that, since it is a Tesla-owned station, when you punch in a destination in the nav on your car's navigation computer, it'll route you through the superchargers that are needed, so that way you get to your destination. And I'll tell you one thing: at this time, there's nowhere in North America I can't go anymore. I might have a little problem charging at my destination, which is quickly being remedied, and I'll get to that in a second, but there's nowhere I can't go. And on top of that, Tesla has made a statement that they're planning on attempting to double the number of superchargers in the country this year alone. We're hoping they make that goal. If not, it might go into 2018, but their goal is to double the amount of superchargers in the US and worldwide in this year alone. Go ahead.
Just to explain a bigger picture thing here, by the way, there are far more usable Tesla chargers out there than there are Chatamo chargers out there.
Yep.
And they're reliable.
And they're quite reliable.
I have, Chatamo is nice, but make sure you have a backup plan. Especially when the supercharger network wasn't fully built and I was still doing very long distance road trips and squeezing every kilowatt out of that battery pack I could.
The other thing to remember is
I have run into a lot of stations that were offline.
The other thing to remember is that Teslas can use Chatamo, but my Leaf cannot use a Tesla charger.
Correct.
So don't run after a supercharger thinking you get saved if you're not.
Do you think Tesla will change that eventually? So they'll have this
Elon Musk's been inviting all the other auto manufacturers to join the Tesla supercharging network. So far, pretty much all the other auto manufacturers are just giving Tesla the middle finger. Because obviously, if Elon said, okay, you guys can use it for free, of course they're going to jump in. Of course, Elon wants them to at least contribute, like we originally had to do with the Model S, is Tesla set about $2,000 aside per car sold to go towards the supercharging network. So obviously Elon would want the other manufacturers to join in. But I think there might be a change coming. Just my thought is the switch now that they're going to more paid supercharging. I think now that they're introducing that, if other manufacturers were to join in without wanting to invest in the network itself, Tesla could at least still now charge the other cars for plugging in. But
Chris,
yeah,
a couple minutes.
Okay, sure. Before I get to any more questions, now there's one other thing. You got something called destination charging. That's what that was going to. Okay, Tesla will actually provide free Tesla high-powered wall stations to businesses such as destination businesses, such as a grocery store, hotels. Unlike the superchargers, though, Tesla now on some occasions they will pay for the installation, but they'll provide the stations for free, and then it would be up to the business owner. My family has a motel in Wisconsin Dells, and this is before the destination charging program even started, we had 50 amp outlets, and we actually had to start taking reservations. This was before superchargers were around. We had to take reservations for people to use the 50 amp outlet. They were more than happy to give us that, and then we got our high-powered wall stations. That gets used so much, not as much now than Mauston's open 20 miles away, so now people just go and supercharge. But getting these placed at businesses is not only great for the customer, but it's also great for the business. I actually carry a stack, and if you could contact Tesla, if anybody's interested, Tesla will actually give you a stack of destination charging brochures. So if you're traveling around and you find say a motel or hotel or business that could benefit from it, that doesn't have it, you could give that information to the hotel, and then it's a great booklet, tells them all about the destination charging program and how they could get free stations for their guests as well. And
thanks, Chris. Any questions?
For
Chris?
Doesn't supercharging shorten the life of your battery pack?
My question. That was the same one.
Yes and no. Now on my original Model S, which used the old battery chemistry, I probably supercharged about 450 times. And when I traded my old 60 kilowatt Model S in, it had the same rated range as when I got it. Now Tesla switched to a new battery chemistry. It's a little more dense. Not much, but a little bit more. Now they're adding silicon, I believe, to the anode. And I'm among the mindset that they're maybe running into some more issues with that than they originally planned, as I'm down a little bit, about 10 or 15 miles rated range in the last year since getting delivery of my new car. And also they've started slightly limiting the supercharging speed for the cars that I've noticed that supercharge a lot, that have the new chemistry, but they're not doing it with the ones that have the old chemistry. So whereas when I got my car, I could supercharge at speeds up to 114 kilowatt. Now I max out at about 94. So it's not going at as high of a rate. However, they also changed it where now I can maintain that lower rate for a longer period of time into the charge. Whereas the older rate would go fast, but then it would taper sooner.
So it's a new battery chemistry, the CNA, the cobalt, nickel, aluminum?
No, all I know is it's got it has some silicon added to the anode.
Added to the graphite.
I would say it's basically a secret sauce from Tesla.
Yeah, all Tesla's batteries are their secret
out
sauce.
There. I don't think anybody. That's a great question for JB tonight.
Yeah, you should totally ask JB.
Doubt Tesla's going to broadly say, here's what our chemistry is.
Very remedial question. What kind of miles per kilowatt hour do you get?
Now during the winter, with heat blasting, if I'm not going long range, by maybe about 400 watts per mile. In the summertime, I actually exceed EPA considerably. I can actually, on the way here, I averaged about 220 watts per mile, and I was doing 80 miles an hour all the way here. And I probably shouldn't have said that on a video that's going on YouTube.
That's amazing.
Those are your right.
Hi. Yeah. Yep. There's another kind of destination charging, and that is I carry in my Tesla a cable I made that plugs into my friend's dryer outlet in Minocqua, so I can make it all the way from Madison to Minocqua. This is before there was a supercharger.
Yep.
Thank you, Tesla. Now I don't really need it, but what do you think of custom-made dryer cables? And in Hawaii, I've done exactly the same thing. I rent houses on the other side of the island that have a dryer. Just swap.
Yeah, custom-made cables are great. Now, Tesla actually used to have a whole bunch of charging adapters. They have something called the Universal Mobile Connector. That's what comes with the car, and I'm going to try and say this as quickly as I can. And the nice thing about this, compared to pretty much every other electric car manufacturer out right now, is the actual plug disconnects. And I should have just brought my cable in here with me. I didn't think about that. And Tesla has a whole bunch of different adapters. So you can have your 15 amp 120 volt, or 15 amp or 20 amp 240 volt, or your dryer outlet or your RV outlet, and they have a whole bunch of different adapters. However, they've taken some away and they've given us new ones. They've gone back and forth. Some disappeared, then they come back. So then that comes up with making your own adapters, which is fine as long as you are very careful about the amperage of what you're plugging into. If you're unsure of the amperage, or let's put it this way, when the 30 amp adapter disappeared for a little while, I made my own. So I used my 50 amp plug that came with the car, and then I made a converter so I could plug into a 240 amp, a NEMA 1430 instead of a 1450. Now, of course, if I plugged in and the car was still set for the 40 amp charge rate, I'd be either burning things up or causing breakers to trip. So you have to manually set the amperage of the car before you plug it in or start charging. Otherwise, you might cause some trouble. So homemade adapters are great, and I have a whole bag of them because, like I said, I was pushing the range of the Teslas quite a bit before we even had public charging, and you just got to be very, very careful.
I want to throw in something that's actually really important here.
Thanks, Chris.
On Chris's last segment, electricity math is hard, and if you're not into electricity math, it's not hard to learn, but it's hard to know how all of those numbers interact. unless you actually learn how do all of those numbers interact. So if anybody has questions on electricity math after this, please feel free to ask. We can walk you through how each one of these numbers stacks up against the other one and what it all means. I just wanted to throw it out there that I get it. Electricity math is hard, and until you have to do it, a lot of times you don't know. But don't feel bad about that, just ask.
Okay, thanks, guys. Paul, why don't you talk about your experience with Model S, Model X differences, and anything that we can learn from?
So first off, how many people in here drive a sedan style car? How many people in here drive more like a pickup truck or an SUV or a crossover? Now the idea was that the Model S is just, well, first of all, it's an incredible car, but it is a sedan. It's a sedan car. Now they've thrown all-wheel drive on it, and so when I take my wife's car out in the snow, it is amazing with just all-season tires on it. It drives amazing. It drives straight in places that I have never been able to drive straight before in snow. I mean, I have a half-mile long gravel driveway, so let me tell you, when we had some of that snow this last winter, it was something else. And it just keeps going straight. I mean, the traction control of it is phenomenal. Now, I also have the Model X, which is the SUV. It does the same thing. Now, I'm probably going to buy snow tires, and the reason is I do really stupid stuff with my Model X. I go places I shouldn't be going. I've watched, if you go on YouTube, just Google Model X and where they go, and there's these Russian guys that do some amazing things with the Model X where they get it on 2 wheels and they do all this crazy stuff in the snow. Well, I start organic farms, so I have to go out into the fields and show people where they're going to be putting their stuff and things like that. So there's no way I'm taking my wife's Model S out there. There's just no way. I'd get shot. First of all, she's got white interior. But the other thing is that with the Model X, you can crank that suspension up so much higher. The very low on my Model X is the high setting on my wife's car. So you can just go amazing places. Now I have the 5-seater in both. If you have the 7 or the 6-seater in the Model X, you actually have less room for storage in your vehicle. Now I have the 5-seater, so all the seats go down. I have the most carrying capacity of any SUV because I have that 5-seater. Now if I had the 7 or the 6, although if I want to haul lumber, I'd rather take my wife's just the way that it sits out in the length of it. It just fits a little better in there. Yeah, so with tires, if I want to throw all 4 of these winter tires that I want to get, I can actually throw them all in the back of my car, in either of them. If I put the seats down in the S, I can throw all 4 of them in. If I put it in the X, I can put all 4 of them in. And I'm talking about tires because that's one of the things that's kind of strange between the X and the S. Now the X, I have 20-inch tires, and on the S, I have 19. So let's say you pick up a nail and you're in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. If I'm with a 19-inch tire, I can normally get something that'll hit the spot. That 20-inch tire is a little bit of a trick. So that's why I quickly just got another set of tires, because I have found that I drive a lot of miles in my X. I've already put over 15,000 miles on it, and I've only had it since December. Now my wife's car, for comparison, we got it in March and we have 3,000 miles on it. So I drive a lot more. I am more likely to pick up some kind of road hazard. I drive terrible places. I do things like aquaponics and farming. So I am driving places that you wouldn't normally probably see a Tesla. I was in the Redwoods in California last month, and we drove right out in, and we were doing this installation project in the Redwoods. So I drove right out there. So I pick up everything. As far as handling, we have the 90s, just like you do, the 90Ds. The X is actually faster in the quarter mile than the S with the 90D. Now when you get into the 100D, which is the one that you can buy now, the S is faster again. So there's all these kind of things. When you go on the internet, if you want to look up and Google the difference between the Model X, the Model S, and the Model 3, you're going to find a lot of things that are very specific to certain models because you can tailor fit everything you want. Personally, I want to drive that X everywhere because I like it. It sits up a little higher. My legs, it's an SUV. So you have that Wisconsin truck feeling, How many people in Wisconsin feel like they need to be driving a pickup truck or an SUV? I mean, it's part of the norm. I pull up somewhere, and that's the size. Now for looks, I think the Model S looks a lot better than the Model X. When you look at a Model X, it looks like somebody took the inflation thing and they just like, they put a little bit and brought it out like that. Now, is it ugly? No. No, if I put it in very low, I think it looks pretty sharp. But my wife's car looks way sharper, especially she's got the white interior in hers. And it just blew me away when you open the door and everything's white inside. You know, I'm a messy guy.
You gotta put on your snow goggles.
Yes, exactly. It's just, so that's it with that. As far as everything else, handling, both are incredible. They both have a low center of gravity. I do not like the frunk on the S. I like my frunk on the Model X. I can easily shut it. But I don't know, maybe being a smaller guy in the S, I have a hard time latching that thing.
It's gone through a few different reiterations and revisions, and I do think the current one's a little harder to close than the old style, but it's more reliable now, though.
Yeah, it's more reliable. So, I mean, that's good. I wouldn't want my hood popping up when I'm driving along. And so that's, go ahead.
Another point, could you speak to the safety record of the 2 different vehicles?
Oh, well, if you want the safest car you can get is the Model S. That is the safest car you can get. The Model S, hands down, is the safest. Safest SUV you can get is the Model X. It's got 5 stars all the way across the board, but the S is safer. The S actually broke the safety equipment that they used to test it with. So, but they're both incredibly safe. I feel very secure. And that's another thing. If you ever want to watch videos, just go on YouTube and see the stupid things people have done with their cars, especially, you know, where they've done just crazy things. And it's still there. You know, there's people that have rolled off the freeway in California in an X, walk out unscathed, and, you know, the car is just trash.
Don't forget collision avoidance.
Oh, yeah, collision avoidance. Seeing that we have the newer cars, we have the collision avoidance, it's just amazing. All of a sudden you'll hear this Star Trek beep, 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 and you better be... First of all, I do have the automated driving, and hopefully 2 years, Elon said, 2 weeks ago, Elon said, in 2 years, I'll be able to program in where I'm going and then turn on the automated driving and go to sleep. I'm hoping for that. I have all that gear in my car. I'm hoping that I'm just going to be able to turn it on and go. But right now, I don't trust it because I work with computers all day long. So, but I have it. You know, I don't mind going 70, right? That's the speed we're supposed to be going? 70?
Yeah, just say 70.
70, okay, yeah, 70?
Yeah.
I don't mind going 70 miles an hour with the automated driving. You put your hands on the wheel.
Although autopilot has a maximum speed of 90.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's good.
Never gone that fast.
So you've heard. So I've heard, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, you just put that on, and it's just adding another set of eyes. Now, do I trust it 100%? Does it do exactly what it's supposed to yet? Not yet. You know, I don't. It's a computer. Come on. The cars have 72 different NVIDIA processors in it. So it has 72 processors. Each one of those computer units is smarter than the XMP, the Cray XMP I used to work in 1987. You know, each one is more than the supercomputer back in the day that was worth $24 million. You know, so when you look at that, the processing power is just amazing. It has 8 different cameras all the way around. Both the models do. Now that being said, the intelligent, logical side of me said I should have bought a used Tesla because it's way cheaper. Let somebody else drive it off the lot and do all that. And I really, you got to watch it close because they sell fast. What is it? The average length of a car on the used site is 36 days. Yeah, 36 days.
Oh, they had that fire sale last week.
Yeah, so they really went last week. I mean, you could pick one up. I saw a Model S for $38K last week, so it's just like, wow. That, I mean, responsibly, that's really the way you should do. Now, I am a crappy driver, and I like having the automated features just because as I get older, you know, I used to be a better driver, but now I don't think my vision's quite as good as it used to be, and I think my reactions might be a titch slower than they used to be. So I like having that extra, hey, you're not going to run into stuff.
I know this is unlikely to happen, but if your Model S is sitting in the garage some night, your smoke alarm goes off, it's on charge, let's say. What would you do, realizing that that Model S is starting to flame up inside your garage in your house? What do you do? 1, 2, 3.
I have an unattached garage.
Okay, let's say you had an attached garage like I do. What would you do?
I really have no concerns about charging with the S with the batteries and the way they're set up. I had a certified electrician set up all my stuff. I'm very happy, you know, when I plug in the cables, they look all clean. I use all Tesla high HWPC, whatever that stands for.
High-powered wall charger.
High-powered wall charger. So I use all that. I have no concerns whatsoever with that. Typically, when you see people that have had problems, they have modified their vehicle, or the car has been in some kind of crash and they haven't had it properly serviced.
Or their electrical wasn't done properly.
Or their electrical doesn't
Actually,
work.
that was the Canadian fire. That was because the outlet went up because it was improperly installed.
Now, I used to teach electricians, so when I go through, I look, I can say, yeah, or no.
Otherwise, the common sense thing. If your car is on fire, get out of your house and call 911.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's 1 and 2.
Guys, this is great. It's very lively. I know I just got the index finger over here saying that time is running short.
That wasn't why I had the index finger.
At least it was the index
Now you're getting the other one.
It's great to be among friends. Let me, you know, in the spirit of time, I was going to actually talk about some of the shortcomings with the Model S, but yes, we could do that, or we could just take general questions. We only have about 5-10 minutes left. Okay, I will be happy to talk about that. But however, I want to be careful. One is I do not work for Tesla. I do not, so I'm just an owner. The other thing is it's extremely difficult to stand up, spending $100,000 on a car and tell you what's wrong with it. I mean, it's like, duh, you know. So it's a tough thing. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is Tesla is not like any other car company. They are what we call a continuous improvement company. They constantly make improvements to their vehicles on a weekly, monthly basis. So what didn't work yesterday may be fixed tomorrow. That's their model. Now, I have heard when I took the factory tour last year that they identify about 100 engineering fixes or changes on a weekly basis. I find that hard to believe, but that's what I've been told from the factory. So again, continual improvement is key. Nevertheless, I'm going to go back to June 2014 and bring you up to today. On my car, my Model S, starting from the back, working forward, I will tell you the issues that I had. Number one, the tail lights, and I believe this is still somewhat of a problem today.
The new design is 1,000 times better.
See? It's fixed. Nevertheless, it's very common for earlier Model S's to have moisture build up in the tail lights. It's kind of a joke when you see that. People say, yeah, that's as designed.
Very frustrating when it pours into your trunk when you open the lid, because it's happened twice to me.
Okay, yep. I have not dealt with that one, but nevertheless, condensation buildup in the taillights was a problem. I've had mine replaced twice. I now have 20,000 miles on it since the last time. I have no issues with it, except for the little fly that somehow worked its way in there and it's stuck on the bottom. But there's no moisture. So the fly has a name and he's permanent. Okay, so taillights. Moving up, the next thing that I had an issue with was the charge port door. It has a little ring around. It's called an LED ring, and it basically changes colors based on what's going on with where the charge is. When it opens up, it flashes white. If there's an interrupt or an issue, it will flash blue or orange. I haven't really quite figured out what the difference is, but anyway, blue or orange. When you plug it in and the handshake is completed and it's starting to do the charge, it will turn green and it will pulsate. And that pulsation is a visual indicator how much charging needs to happen in the vehicle. So for example, when it's pulsing really fast, that tells you it's pulling a lot of charge in. It needs to charge either from near empty or very low state of charge. As it gets closer to that completed state of charge, the pulsating slows down. The issue I had was the LED ring. Some of the LEDs would burn out, so it looked like missing teeth. Not a huge issue, nevertheless, we replaced it. By the way, as I go through the car, I want everybody to be clear. In no way have I ever, in the 3 years that I've driven the car, had an issue where I've actually been sidelined and I couldn't drive the car. I've never had that. So in some respect, these are pretty minor issues. Okay, from there, 30,000 miles into the car, I had the infamous, what's now infamous, the drive unit problem. This is where on low RPMs you start hearing, it sounds like a gravelly noise, you know, something doesn't sound right. You know, an electric motor is supposed to be, you know, cool and quiet, and you hear this little gravel noise. Again, it doesn't affect the drivability, nevertheless, it bugged me. Called Tesla up, no problem. They took the car in, dropped off a loaner. By the way, they dropped off a better loaner, so I said, hey, keep it as long as you want. The next day, they had the car back. It's about a 3 or 4 hour job to replace the motor. It's not a big deal. Nevertheless, Tesla has since fixed, as far as I know, all of the motor issues from the past.
How much did that cost?
It didn't cost anything because, great question.
Thank
I
you.
love it. Good lead-in.
Thanks.
Tesla has a 8-year unlimited mile warranty on the powertrain, which includes the battery and the motor. So it's constrained only by years, not miles, which is really phenomenal. I had heard unofficially that, in fact, I think it was Elon said this in an interview at one point, that they fixed the root cause with those motors, with the motor squeal, and that right now the motors are determined to be rated at 1 million miles before they go bad. That's what Elon said, and I haven't had an issue since. So, and I haven't heard, you don't hear about it anymore. It's just kind of a thing of the past. Looking ahead in the car, I can honestly say, oh, actually, no, I know the other issue. The door handles. These really slick, cool door handles that you walk by and they present themselves. And by the way, any young person who is into engineering, that has an engineering mindset, will go up to the handle and just sit there and stare at them and just be amazed, like, wow, it goes in and out, in and out. It's a cool thing. They love it. The door handles have a tendency to break. I've had all 4 of my handles broken. In most cases, they eject, but when you pull it or tug it to open the door, it doesn't open. So you try everything. I think personally, Tesla should have done a recall. That's my opinion, because
I'm gonna add to the door handles.
Please do.
I just had 3 repaired 2 weeks ago.
They still have an issue with them.
The door,
Okay.
but mine didn't completely fail. They started grinding, so they took them apart and re-lubricated everything.
Interesting.
Mine's grinding.
My doors are open now. I haven't had a problem. However, the door handles, they're easily replaceable. They can come out wherever the car is. They swap them out. No problem. No issues. But that is the scope of issues that I've had with my car. Do you guys want to add anything, please, to augment?
That's all of them for me.
I have the
Those are the big ones.
I have the Model X, and so one thing I want to say about the door handles, I never have a problem with my door handles.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Sit down, Paul.
But you just kind of push that thing and it opens. I don't know. But with my Falcon Wing doors, which everybody's like, oh, those things are going to die. You know, when you look at the Model S, there's less moving parts, there's less motors in it, there's less hassle. But with that Model X, I was in an ice storm, and I was putting my dog in the back seat, good old Tiger, and I'm just letting it all, because it acts like a huge umbrella. When you put the door up, you know, you can stand under there and you can clip the dog in so he's not running all over the car and all that, and you just stay dry. It's like, wow, this is awesome. Well, the problem is with the ice storm, I got a bunch of ice up in there, and I went to go shut the door, and all of a sudden I heard this terrible noise. It's like, down, and then all of a sudden my car says it won't latch. Well, I had actually broken the latch at that point.
It wasn't the dog, though.
It was not the dog. No, the dog was fine.
All right.
Last week I was filming. I was filming a movie last week, of all things, in my Model X, and we had a balloon that got stuck between the door and the frame. And it didn't pop the balloon. It sensed the balloon and stopped. And I was just like,
wow.
After that, I
That's
felt pretty
cool.
good about the Model X doors. You know, that it's not going to
That's a
decapitate
good story.
anyone.
That's
Like
interesting.
5 minutes.
But I did have that latch broke, and they had it fixed within 3 hours. It was really cool because they show up with, because I live in the boonies, so a lot of times I don't get the cool loaner cars. I just get whatever Enterprise has in my area. So I had the cool Cadillac with the fake noise coming out of the speakers, so when you step on it, I could actually hear noise.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So one other thing would be,
Go ahead, Eric.
when there's accidents for bodies, some of those waits can be long, right? You know, depending on, you know,
Yeah, there are, I don't know how many certified body shops there are in Wisconsin, but there's one. The premier one that's Marshall Auto Body down in is it Brookfield? Waukesha. They're awesome. I've had my car in there twice. Once I hit a deer, and then the other time, I'm embarrassed to say, but I backed into a supercharger, and I ignored all the warnings. I was exhausted, crunch, crack. There goes my quarter panel. But it took about a week and a half before they got the parts in. So
I guess it would come down to how serious of an accident it is. If it's a fender bender, a week or two. If it's a bad accident and the insurance company just won't total the damn thing out, I've seen as long as 6 months. But that's it, and for some reason it's just something sourcing every part and then getting everything verified by Tesla that it was also done right is another thing. They will not, like, if they don't inspect it after a major accident, you can't even supercharge. They won't reactivate supercharging for your car until it's been until it's been re-inspected by Tesla to ensure that everything was done right and that it's safe to supercharge. That's to the point they've got it at.
Thanks. One point I want to add before I turn it over to questions is 8-year unlimited mile warranty on the powertrain, 4 years, 50,000 mile bumper to bumper. I also paid for the extended warranty, so I have 8-year, 100,000 mile plus the powertrain warranty. I will tell you this, and I don't work for Tesla. When there is a problem and I'm under warranty, I actually like it. Tesla goes out of their way to treat you like a concierge. It's amazing. Like, you know, they're amazing. They will come to you. They will fix the issue. If they can't fix it, they will put it on a flatbed truck, take it to their shop, leave you with a better vehicle. When it comes back, not only is the issue fixed, a lot of times they'll flash new versions of software, they'll make other adjustments. They go out of their way to make you feel special. And I got to tell you, my car, for 3 years old, I feel almost like it's almost like it's brand new. Yeah, I don't have autopilot, but you know, that kind of stuff. It just feels like they maintain it. They just add this, change this. You know, it's amazing. Questions? Right here.
What can you tell the Model 3 people who are waiting for their new Teslas?
Good luck.
Good luck. Yes.
I mean, in terms of anticipating it.
You want me to take it? I've actually been in a Model 3.
You got it, man.
All right. I'm not interested in what it looks like and all that, but as users experiencing, what would you tell a new Tesla 3 owner?
Okay, a new Tesla 3 owner that's anticipating delivery, try and have your charging set up at home done ahead of time. Have the electrician come out. If you have questions, it's the same charging infrastructure as the Model S and Model X. I'm guessing, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I'm going to guess that they're probably going to stick with the same universal mobile connector for standard home charging. It's going to be the same plug-in style. So if you want, you can get your high-powered wall station for at home. That's the biggest thing, is just have your charging done ahead of time.
What's the amperage?
We don't know specifically for the
Probably
Model
50.
3 yet, but it's probably going to mirror the same as the current S and the X, which the current versions are as much as 48 amps.
48 amps.
48 amps. I have the old charger, so I can actually charge faster than the newer cars.
Okay, Chris, I have stopped it.
Okay.
Guys, we are running up against 11 o'clock. We'll be happy to take questions over here on the side. Thank you to these guys for volunteering.